What is up, dudes? Welcome back. We got a doozy tonight. It's about the prophecy of the last pope or of the last papa. Hope you stick around, watch the full video, get a snack, drink, kick back, and hang out with the dudes. Paranormal Dudes podcast, episode 44. Welcome back, everyone. Bienvenidos de México. Los que están viendo de México, bienvenidos a continuar. So, we're here today talking about a prophecy that almost is roughly around thousands of years, which is crazy within itself. And after what just happened, if you're not familiar with the I guess you could say pop culture. I guess it has hit pop culture as well as current events. It feels like it's unfolding right now before our eyes. But before we go into it any further, we have to do our general Paranormal Dudes podcast housekeeping just to make sure before we move any further. If anybody has experienced anything since the last time we got on a pod, if anything paranormal happened to anyone, something did happen to me. Something happened to me very small, nothing crazy. I had just finishing watching Free Willy 2. If you haven't seen Free Willy 2, it's a good movie. I was walking upstairs, ready to go to bed. Everybody's asleep already. Something grabs my ankle. Now, everyone's asleep. Lights are off. Turn around. Obviously, no one's there. I'm alone. Instead of acknowledging that happened, I continued to walk up. I walked into my bedroom and paid no attention to it. I got close to my bed. I felt it again as I was standing next to my bed. And I still didn't freak out because, more importantly, my daughter is there next to me. So I didn't scream or say anything. I just got right into bed and acted like nothing happened. Popped the melatonin, and we're rocking for the night.
But seriously though, how scared were you though when you felt the first time?
Pissing my pants. I had to pee. Coincidentally, I had to pee, and I didn't go pee because of that.
Wait, but
which Sergio, I don't recommend for all of our viewers. I don't recommend that. Go pee because I had to pee really bad later.
I remember it was maybe a couple weeks ago. You said you were going up the stairs too, and they said, "Sergio."
Yes, someone said.
Little smack.
Yes, Jesse.
Now your ankle. What's next? How are you? Are you walking up the stairs like provocatively?
I am walking up there like I'm very presentable at a job. Just trying to walk upstairs. Nothing sexual.
Sergio's hips are going like this.
Yes, I agree. I'm either going to have to invite a priest over or a dominatrix exorcism specialized person. I'm sure there's someone out there that can cover that. But yeah, that's what happened to me. And if you have a story, any of our viewers, like I said in prior episodes, please leave a comment about your recent paranormal experience or send that story to paranormaldudestories@gmail.com. See, I did my engagement with our viewers. Not bad, right? I'm getting on top of it. Anywho, so nothing else for anyone else? Nothing's happened whatsoever before we move on?
I don't have a paranormal story, but I did visit Puente Hills Mall. And if anybody knows now, it is completely like abandoned. There's still the movies that are attached to it that's in operation, but literally there's like 4 stores. and I recorded a video because you just walk through there and it's just so dead. And it's
Right.
like once upon a time used to be. So in the video, I say, hey, like once it completely goes abandoned, I'm down to go in. If we get some comments, I'm down to go in and do a live,
100 comments. Oscar will go down there in his underwear only and go at night.
With a blindfold.
With a blindfold. Smell test. Okay. I mean, it's something. It's definitely something.
Yeah, I feel like eventually it's going to be a lot of energy there that has just.
Oh, for sure, dude. I think so. Without further ado, I have the floor. And this is a crazy topic. You probably saw it in our title and our thumbnail or picture if you're not on YouTube and you're listening. This is a wild one at the top of the podcast. I mentioned it. It is the prophecy of the last pope. So we're talking about a prophecy, like I mentioned, that's been around for thousands of years. Okay. Just let that sink in. Okay. Just think of that. So 900 years ago, an Irish archbishop had a vision. He said he saw all the future popes ending with one final pope who would reign during a time of chaos. Coincidence? I don't think so. Giving our current events, it lines up. And tonight we're going to break down why a lot of people think that the final pope has just passed away. So jumping into the story, a little bit of backstory for everybody. Saint Malachy, which is the archbishop's name, he is from Ireland. He was born in 1094. This dude was famous even back then for seeing visions, predicting deaths, miracles, and healing. So needless to say, this guy was a clairvoyant person, which is crazy because we have one of those in this pod right now. Or let's say we have one of those that are ready to go and another one that is in training.
1.5.
Oscar. I'm on the trial version. Okay.
Trial version. So, and during a trip to Rome in 1139, as the story goes, he had this crazy vision. He saw every future pope lined up, 112 popes total. And each one had this, like a weird, they had like this weird little Latin motto attached to them. The crazy part, that list disappeared for hundreds of years. And then randomly shows up in 1595, which is nuts that something like that disappeared and came back. Right before a super important papal election. Coincidence? I don't think so. It could be a rigged prophecy. I mean, you could tell me. It sounds like there's a lot of things lining up together when you start at the beginning of this prophecy or conspiracy. So far, what do you guys think that the list was gone for 400 years and it just shows up out of nowhere right before an event like that? And it's like if someone dropped it at the right time, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just like a lot of things that happen through time that, I mean, especially in a time where we can't really recall and like record everything. But that's crazy how he can see all of them. So the one that just passed away is technically the last
it's
one.
Pope Francis. Yeah.
Francis. Yeah. And it's like he
Okay.
saw like the Last Airbender. He saw like all the avatars.
Well, I mean that's what he saw, and he put it down on a list. So technically, this is how the list worked. Each pope had a super short, cryptic motto, stuff like, I don't know, shepherd and sailor, or flower of flowers, and weirdly, a lot of them actually fit. For example, Pope John Paul, his motto was from the half moon, and he literally died after 33 days. That's a half a lunar cycle. So there's a lot of coincidences with this prophecy and these conspiracies, but they're lining up in a weird way. But here's where it gets a little sketchy. Up until around Pope 74, the matches were kind of vague. After that, the descriptions got so perfect it almost feels fake, which some people might feel that way. Definitely. I mean, they're not wrong for feeling that way. Like someone backfilled the prophecy to make it match, kind of forcing it so that the prophecy could fulfill towards the end. You know what I mean? So essentially, in a small thought, it's like if when you guess 5-letter lottery numbers after the draw, like after the draw's already happened, it's the same. It almost feels like the same thing. But that's not where it ends, obviously. So then we get to our time, the current time, putting all that, the history behind us. Fast forward to now, the final pope on the list, number 112, wasn't given a name. Instead, he was described like this: in the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will reign Peter the Roman, and after this, the dreadful judge will judge the people, aka Judgment Day. A little chilling, right? Just a little bit. If you're unfamiliar with, it's the end. It's basically the end times. So, before I continue further, how do you guys feel about that notion alone? Just thinking on that thought.
Did somebody find this?
Yeah, they found it again in 1595.
Was it somebody, or was
a physical
it
person like actually found the list?
So why don't they look into that person? How come this person just mysteriously found it hidden in Vatican archives and nobody else could find it all this time?
Well, I'm sure they have. It's just we don't have those notes on the pod. That's the only difference. I'm sure there is a dossier on the person that found it and how they found it or where they found it. So, you have anything, Ethan? Anything to jump on that?
I mean, my biggest thing is like if the person found it, right?
Right.
Like where? Because I feel like those things don't.
But you could always say that. You could say where, but where does one find anything in the history of humanity?
But my thing is, was he looking for it, or was he looking for something that?
It's very possible. I mean, we could do a little cleanup of that real quick and look into it and say who refound.
Named Arnold the Wyan claimed to have found the prophecy hidden in Vatican archives and published it in a book called Legnum Vitae. The church never officially endorsed it. It remains kind of a private devotion or curiosity, not officially doctrine.
Well, of course they won't sign up. Imagine the Vatican signing off on a book that says after 112 everyone's going to perish. Imagine that. What kind of hysteria that would bring.
Even today, Catholic Church treats it cautiously as possibly fabricated or at least not divinely revealed.
Of course they would do that.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. There's a bunch of secrets within the Vatican. And this is obviously, I believe this is one of them for sure. And it's kind of unfolding that way so far, going through, after doing a lot of research on this and seeing what's happening. For sure, there's certain things that are coincidental, but at the same time, there is certain events within this research that are kind of like, what the F? What's going on, dude? Like, that means there are certain things within the story itself that are hard to explain, and there's other ones that are unexplainable, which gives it mystery within itself. Now, if end times do come and Judgment Day is here, obviously this podcast will no longer continue. and the prophecy was correct. So moving on now, today in today's day and age, Pope Francis, his real name is George Mario Bergoglio. I don't want to butcher this. I probably am. Our friend, anybody that's Italian out there, he's not. Is he Italian? He is, right? Or he's actually Argentinian. I'm sorry. He's actually his last name is Bergoglio. Was from Argentina, but his family were Italian immigrants. Okay, see, there it goes. That's where the trail comes from. Makes sense. So basically Roman roots. Plus, he's the first Jesuit pope, first from the Americas, broke a ton of Vatican traditions. A lot of people started wondering, was he Peter the Roman? So you have to take a step back and really think, man, I mean, you're saying we were already in the final chapter and didn't even know it. And we're here now in that chapter. So you being you guys, how do you feel that what if this is the final chapter and we're leading up to the end of this prophecy? What would be the last thing you guys would do?
I mean, I feel like a lot of things in history and just like in the past decade have happened where it's like, oh, this is like the last of like 2012 and this and that, and obviously what was predicted didn't necessarily happen, but I guess things in other forms did. So I'm very interested and curious as to like, I mean, I don't want to speak it and want something to happen, but I feel like there's some truth.
Oscar's like, if something does happen, that'd be awesome. But if it
yeah, you'll see it. We'll talk about it in the next episode.
If something does happen, we'll try to film the next episode. We promise. So what do you think, Ethan?
I was kind of piggyback what he was saying, because the 2012 thing, I feel like, hold on, here's the reason why. Because the 2012 thing happened because if people don't know this, okay, never mind.
No, but even like the Mayan calendar, all that stuff, like.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. The Mayan calendar ended wasn't because they ended it there; it's because they were killed off. It wasn't because it naturally ended there. So my thing is to predict.
How do you explain that? Or would you say that Saint Malachy, he died, and that's why you couldn't put the next entry?
But the thing is, the way I look at it, it's gonna sound cheesy as hell, but I feel like no one will.
When are things not cheesy on the podcast?
But I feel like no one will know when this is supposed to happen unless you're God.
Yeah, right.
Because that's who I won't say plans it out, but he's the only can see that stuff happening.
And he's just out there like this. These guys have no idea what's in store for them.
Because my thing is, it could happen, but at the same time, if it happens, I mean, damn, there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
But if it doesn't, then it's gonna be like my thing is, if it doesn't happen, people are like, oh, then all that was fake. Like then there's gonna be a lot of negative stuff into it.
There's going to be like
backlash,
and they're going to say like they're not going to have faith right in the church, so they can't.
But imagine like the prophecy is starting to be fulfilled. Weird things are starting to happen. Famine or what have you is starting to it's starting to go down the crapper, and the church is still out there. We promise this isn't the end. We really promise nothing's happening right now. That book is false. It's not happening. Imagine, and they're just trying to dispel it, and we're like literally dying out there, and it's being fulfilled. That'd be crazy if that were to happen. Which it'd be crazy and accurate, and it would happen.
Well, here's the thing. I think they would do the opposite, because if they want people to believe them more on the prophecy and
well, no,
God
I don't think that's true, because like Jesse said earlier that they just dispelled the book by saying that it was more of a thought or a rumor or a conspiratorial piece, if you will.
It would basically go against everything that they do, even for picking a pope. Like, why? If it's everything that it's based on choosing.
So I think eventually, if this were to happen, I think they would continue that trend and still go, no, this isn't the end. You didn't lose 75% of the population. That's not happening. I promise. But who knows? Who knows if that were to even happen?
I mean, either that or they're just basing it on like the freaking book of Revelation.
Yeah, it's true. So moving forward to today, unfortunately, Pope Francis has passed away. He passed away last week, and here's the real reason we're doing this episode right now. He's gone, right? He officially passed away. And it's not like we picked up this topic and we're like, you know what? Oh, this looks interesting. No, because, he did pass away, and we're going to see if the end times are going to happen and Judgment Day comes upon us, and this podcast will continue or it won't. We don't know. And the last pope on the list, the one tied to tribulations, has left the stage, which has a lot of people asking, was that a signal? Did the clock just hit midnight on this prophecy? And are we going to start experiencing certain things? Does it feel perfect, or just to be a little coincidental? I don't know. I'm not clairvoyant. I just experience paranormal activity at an alarming rate. And it's hard for me to say those types of things. I feel like when it comes to Jesse comes at a perspective on a topic, on any topic really. It's coming from a clairvoyant side of it, but at the same time, a rooted one, a grounded one with good foundation, and being able to decipher whether something is factual or something is fabricated. And I guess overall, that question is for you, Jess. Do you think the clock has hit midnight, and we could possibly experiencing not necessarily Judgment Day, but maybe some type of variation of it? And or do you think that it is a little too perfect and it to be coincidental altogether? But keep in mind, it's not like, all of this information just came out. This is like thousands of years that this information has been sitting around. What do you think?
Right. And so I don't want to necessarily say, oh yeah, the world is going to end, but I feel like that it's how I had mentioned or referenced earlier, the book of Revelations. It's like certain stuff that's happening that is going to be the end of time for the people that are, how can I say this? Like what we're experiencing today, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be the end of time for us, and not necessarily the end of, oh, the world's going to end. Like somebody's
for sure
going to die, and like it's just my quote.
Like another form of Judgment Day, or a variation of it on a sub level, not in this. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, definitely. And it could be spiritually. It could be not necessarily in a physical form that the whole world's gonna crack open, and we're just gonna all perish. I definitely get where you're coming from. Oscar, what do you think before we move forward?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think I see it as maybe we should not see it as a negative thing. What if it's a time for a new beginning of whatever it is, right? Maybe, like you said, not the world ending, but certain things in our time that are going to end, certain things that are going to pivot to a new, innovative way, or, because, I mean, technically this is the end, right? In what,
it's
what was
according to the prophecy, this is the end of it. Yeah.
And I'm not too much into like reading, anything religious, anything like that. But if there's an end, there's always a new beginning. And I feel like that's where we're at. And it's just uncertainty that kind of creates this.
Yeah, for sure. That's the portion.
Like everything having to do with religion, it's like metaphorical, right? So it's like how one interprets it.
For sure. No, definitely.
What if it's like at the end of just the Pope prophecy itself, not just like, in the world? What if it's just the end of the Pope diocese, of just having that, and something else comes into play? Or I don't know, like what if the Catholic Church just changes somehow? Or I don't know, it can be anything.
That could be a possibility. I didn't think of that. That's a great point there, Ethan. That could be another portion of it, that maybe the church just changes overall after this, and that could be, the judgment day. But real talk here, aside from, an alternate view of things, say, the prophecy said after Peter the Roman that the dreadful judge shows up judgment day. Okay. But it doesn't explain that it's like, God rolling up and just some crazy cataclysm happening or anything like that. Like Ethan said, it could be the end of the church. Maybe it could change. We don't know. There's some form of change that could happen. Or the end of the world as we know it does get destroyed and we no longer exist. And sad wink, our podcast goes along with that end because we're starting to grow. And once again, we thank everybody for that growth. Nice little
While we're here.
While we're here.
Subscribe to our alternative channel in the afterlife.
our alternative purgatory channel will start as soon as that's over.
But he had like so many crazy secrets, like weird secrets,
Yes.
like evidence of alien contacts, prophecy
Yes.
of lots of biblical texts, and even saying like that the prophecies or these people are giving the prophecies are not human.
Right.
They're from something even higher. So that
Imagine
makes
that.
it even more weird.
Yes. There's so much behind it. And I love that Jesse brought that up. And you guys touched on it a little bit. Because it could also be a spiritual upheaval altogether. And we touched on it a little bit. That it could possibly be that. It doesn't have to be something cataclysmic. Of course, the powers that be. I'm sure there's a bunch of other podcasts that aren't speaking the way we are. They're more of, we're all gonna die, and there's gonna be demons like everywhere. Or, try kind of toe the line for the paranormal and try to keep it creepy. But not here on the Paranormal Dudes podcast. We're a little goofy, but at the same time, we'll bring you the paranormal side as well. Either way, the prophecy stops according to this list, and according to Saint Malachy. No more popes after 112. No pope at 113 is listed on this list. So, and Jesse just brought it up, is that there is a bunch of Vatican secrets, a lot of conspiracies, and a lot of these conspiracies, like Jesse said, they supposedly come from a higher being, or possibly it comes from aliens. There's just there's so much information online pretty much that you could look into. And I'm sure there's a few YouTube channels out there or YouTube videos in general that have they definitely have they dove into this for sure and dissected it and regurgitated it over and over again, because I'm sure there's the corner of the world of people that enjoy this kind of stuff. But with that being said, here come the conspiracy theories. Some may call this a conspiracy theory within itself, but this is everything that's outside of it, like Jesse mentioned. Some say that the next pope won't even be legit, meaning it could be a faux pope. So, so if that happens, that could be another form of the end times, or how we outlined a little earlier. It's just a different pivot into that realm. The conspiracy theories say that, and we try not to get too political on this podcast, but just a small smidge. I mean, there'll be that supposedly this person will be a political puppet, part of a one world religion setup. Others think the church will fracture, split in two divides, which is very possible in today's day and age with everything that's going on in our current events. And then there's the old Vatican rumors, like Jesse outlined: hidden manuscripts, secret meetings, occult signs buried under St. Peter's Basilica. If the prophecy's real, if the prophecy is real, the next few years would get very weird really fast, needless to say. And with that being said, if things do get really weird, what would you guys be doing? And you would be noticing, things are going down. What are we going to do? And if that's being said, like we said, this podcast will be airing on the YouTube the version of the purgatory version of YouTube, and we're doing Paranormal Dudes from a bunker, if possible, if that were the case. And we probably won't be, because just so everybody knows that watches the show, a lot of us are in different parts of the United States. Two states that are really close to each other, but not close enough to be in person all together. So if the end times do come and all four of us survive, it's a possibility that we could be in IRL together for a pod. Who knows? But like, I wanted to ask you guys, what would you guys be doing leading up to the inevitable if that were the case? Like, what would you personally do?
I would eat everything I'm allergic to.
I'm gonna go the whole religion type and do what I'm supposed to do as a Catholic before things go down.
Makes sense. I'd probably do a version of that along with some things you're not supposed to do. But
Oh
anyway,
my God.
Okay. Wow.
Turtle, you do that on a regular basis. I mean, there's
but that's what I'm saying is that as a Catholic, you do those things and then you repent. And then you and then you ask for forgiveness. So that would be my plan.
Yeah. Virgen Santa Maria.
No, you hear him knocking door. Babe, what are you doing? One last time before I gotta repent. Just
what about you, Oscar?
Man, I don't know. I think honestly,
it's like a loaded question, isn't it? It's like putting you on the spot.
I would honestly if it's the inevitable, right? It's something we can't control. I'll just let it happen, be around the people that I love and just let it be.
Let it go. That's what you really wanted.
Yeah, of course, with some good food around me for sure.
Oh yeah. That's
tacos,
a given. Some good food. Really, really good food. Stuff that when the judgment day comes up, no vas a estar para el otro día para pinche chorro. Like, you just go all out. You just know what's gonna happen.
Camarones
you just
a la
eat
diabla.
Exactly.
With milk, everything, because you can eat camaron after 12.
I can eat a watermelon at night. All those different things.
Definitely. So, Jess, that would be your thing. Just eat everything you're allergic to, nothing else.
I mean, I don't want to be dramatic. I would obviously be like with
you are dramatic. Just be dramatic.
I guess the question is, how long do we have? What is this window?
Yeah, like, don't.
It's a day. I mean, then that's what I'm freaking doing right now. Like, there's so much crap going on now. You just have to make the best out of.
Then let me do this. Let me. The four horsemen show up. That's like, shit's gonna happen. Okay. That should give you a barometer of, okay, we don't have much time now.
What are these four horsemen? Are they vaqueros? Are they shirtless?
Stupid.
Are they what is this?
They're there to signify that the end of time is coming for humanity.
Four hot guys on horses show up.
Sure. That if that's what you want to see.
So let me know that it's the end of time.
Yes. What do you do?
I have to go with one of the horsemen.
You can't touch them. You only see them, and now you have to figure, what are you going to do in your last days?
Do they talk? Can I ask them how long I have?
No, they're just there as a signal. That's it.
They're like horsemen mutes?
It is a paranormal blue balls for you, okay?
I mean, I'd be like, okay, well, pues bye. Like, get out of my house. I want to be with my family.
They're going to show up at your house. I'm just saying they show up in, like...
So I'm going to be like getting my coffee at Starbucks, and then I'm going to
see a bunch of reels on Instagram that there's four horsemen telling me that they're going to die.
I'd be like, oh my God. I can't believe it.
First of all, if that were to happen, I think people would be like, oh, that's AI. It's not real.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or imagine someone doing that as a prank, though. Like, pretending to be the four horsemen and just cause chaos.
Haven't you seen all those things that are all like on TikTok? Like, oh, the end is near, and it's like freaking, what is it, like fire in places, and they're like, it's an earthquake that happened, and then like something flooded, and like, then what's another one, like a big bug or something that hasn't been around for billions of years gets found, like shit like that.
I mean, I'm not saying everything has a spiritual tie to it, to get away from our jokiness, but I'm not saying everything has a spiritual tie to it. But I will say this: if I were to witness, you know, any form of a signal to signify that the end times are coming, I don't know what I would do. On a serious note, obviously, I would hug my loved ones closer and want to be with my daughter, and just try to live my time that's left the best way I can. Obviously, alongside trying to repent during that time, aside from all the jokes. And I don't know, it to really sink in and sit there and think about it does make me sad because I won't experience things anymore that have been going on, or I won't be able to see the future of that my daughter has going forward. And it is sad. It And there's no one to blame if something were like that were to happen. There could be, but I think it's not right to blame anybody for something like that because you don't know. No one really knows at the end of the day. So that's my serious take on it. My own.
Damn. It's the first time in a long time I heard her get serious on the podcast and say something kind of damn. I mean, I feel like
What?
That's when I saw a tear come out.
You saw it? No, you didn't. Shut up.
I did.
Wait, what?
Don't. She said she saw a tear come out of my eye. Shut up, Jesse.
You sort of like this.
So, just to kind of wrap things up in a nice little paranormal bow for all this last Pope talk, which is kind of scary. I mean, I know that we're kind of shedding a different light on this with our ridiculous jokes and kind of viewing it in an angle of not taking it too serious, which we do that a lot on this podcast, but sometimes you have to do that to stay human. And because honestly, if something like this were to happen, we don't have control over it. So what can you really do? Nothing. Other than try to be the best version of yourself throughout that period of time. Obviously, we all know there's evil in the world, and I'm sure people would take advantage of that short time to do despicable things to people and or any living beings, because there are those kind of people as well. I feel like I threw a wrench in our podcasts and changed the mood a little bit.
But what if it's even that? Like, what if this end time it doesn't really end, but because of this period of uncertainty, we're like, okay, let's all live how we're supposed to. Let's all be who we want to be, and then that is the beginning of this end. And
it's a good way to look at it too.
You know,
I like that
because we only do that as a human when we know something is going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So,
you're 100% correct, because it's funny you touch on that. I'm not going to name any names, but when something critical happens in someone's life, which I've noticed, something death defying that's happening, all of a sudden this same individual becomes very religious and they go to church all the time. And once they're out of the woods from that experience, they kind of revert back to what they were before. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are that way, and it just happens. So
fear.
It is fear, unfortunately, and people. Some people are. I'm not. Some people are more gullible to it than others, and that in all regions of the world, and who knows? Maybe this is another portion of that, another way to fearmonger, and we don't know, because you might think into perspective of like how you guys mentioned the whole 2012 thing. How freaked out were a lot of, because I remember that specific day. I like the back of my head because it's seared in my brain. So my family and everybody went to an air show that day. I stayed home, and where the air show was taking place, a jet just flew right over the house we were living in, and I was lying down at that time, and it freaked me out. I was like, "Oh my god, it's happening! Oh my gosh!" But then I realized, "Oh wait a minute!" I looked outside; it was a jet. I was like, it freaked me out. So, and there's proof in the pudding. It happens to everyone at some point in everybody's life. People will eat shit up and be gullible to these types of things until you experience
Or,
stuff.
or
What's
it's
that?
just in the end about control.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you guys
Well,
think
I
there's
feel
gonna
like
be a
too
movie?
they capitalize it a lot too, like the
Yeah.
2012 movie, and not just that, but I was young. I was really really young, but when it was 06, 06, 06, people capitalized on that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I
What
So I
remember
feel
about
like it's a lot of
Y2K?
things that they do that on.
Y2K. That was dumb. You guys were really young when that happened, but that was really, everyone's like stacking up on water, like we're not gonna have any electricity, like, and none of that happened. It was like 1220, the year they came into it, which was, after Y2K, and nothing happened. And we're just like, okay, so when's the next Limp Bizkit album coming out? That was so we discussed on all of it pretty much. Let's teeter it coming off of everybody here. What do you guys think? Was the prophecy of the popes real? Was Pope Francis truly Peter the Roman? And now something way bigger is kicking off? Or is this just another case of people looking for patterns because the world's chaotic right now and trying to line them up? And
It's just another
before
way
we
for
get, before you guys get into it, I'm sorry. You and our viewers, if you're watching this, leave a comment, and we would love to hear what you guys think. We'd love to get into a discussion with you guys. We're always open to that. So back to you guys. What do you guys think?
I think it's just another form of control
That's
over
what you think?
like
Okay.
religion, control, and scare tactics.
Okay. Us?
I think there's gonna be another list that emerges
You think so?
magically.
Like a brand new one? This is the
Yeah,
revamped list of 2022.
yeah,
When
made
else is
with
gonna find another
ChatGPT,
list?
something like that.
Another a part two list.
Yeah, I mean,
Part
I have a
two.
lot of questions about what's gonna happen. Like, what is the
Yeah,
validity
of
of
course.
Catholicism gonna be? If
Yeah.
all this, it's just a bunch. But
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that unfortunately will not be answered.
mhm.
And anybody, and this is my own personal take on it, anybody that feels like they have the right answer, they don't, because there's so much unknown in this world, whether it's feasible and tangible or thought provoking and spiritual, you just don't. And that's just part of being a human. No
Mhm.
one knows everything. Uh, yeah, like Katy Perry doesn't know anything either, but she went to space
Open the door.
and opened the door. What about you, Ethan?
I didn't realize it until you said it earlier about the whole thing of the Catholic Church kind of splitting up. Again, I think what's stuck in my head is what if it's the Pope diocese changes again? It's just stuck in my head, and then the Catholic Church or the Catholic religion just changes,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know. I'm gonna get in because you know me. I love World War II stuff. I'm
Of
stupid
course.
like that. But
Ethan teeters on World War II stuff
well,
and the Warrens, Ed and
well
Lorraine Warren.
Oh man.
I think what's gonna happen is hope. 'Cause I don't want to get political in it because we're not a political
Yeah,
podcast. But I
we're not.
think
We're not.
I think what's gonna happen is something's gonna happen in the world where it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna affect the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church. We're not gonna go that far back, but
Yeah.
I think something's gonna affect it, and it can be many things. It can be where the Catholic Church finally changes and it falls, maybe, or it just gets too powerful, or it does the split, and
Right.
something in the world happens where it does a split, and then there's no more. They stop with the Pope thing, or there's two different
It's
popes,
true.
or something. You know what I mean? Something different.
Something will happen. And I think we touched on it earlier. I don't think it's going to be world breaking. I mean, if it does, then oh well. I mean, what else can we say about it? But those are great points, and I think it has a lot to do with the church itself that will experience some kind of fracture or split. I do believe that. So just to point out a couple things that to everybody watching, obviously, and ourselves on here. If you do start seeing some weird Vatican news in the next few weeks, then we know the prophecy was real. And then we'll definitely don't say that here on the Paranormal Dudes podcast that we didn't warn you. Just you heard it here first. If it does happen, I'm sure other people have said it as well, but our word's a little more important than others. So crazy stuff. I mean, this episode was great. We kind of touched on the paranormal side of it, as well as the conspiracy side of it as well. Next week we'll be diving into something even weirder. If in fact there is some paranormal stuff behind it, when it comes to this whole last pope stuff, and we'll be able to either show the podcast on the Purgatory YouTube link, or we'll still be here on YouTube. We don't know yet. It's a possibility. So stay tuned. We'll get there. Woo! That was a mouthful, dude. Just going off of all that stuff. I don't know. When it comes to end of time stuff, it's really hard to decipher it and to see where you are spiritually, because if you our viewer, if you're right with yourself and whatever whatever it is that you believe in, make sure that you're the best person you are at all times, because whether judgment day or not, your own personal judgment day might come with or without this prophecy. So just try to be the best version of yourself all the time. So heavy episode. Moving forward, we actually have another viewer submission. We actually had a few come in this week, and I think we're gonna shelve. So Jesse had one coming in as well. We're gonna shelve that for next week because that's a good one. I think it'll line up more with next week for sure. But the submission is coming from none other than our I want to say not
podcast storyteller.
No, I would say our it'll, you know what? Perfect segue. It'll tie into our podcast, to our religious viewer who watches our podcast religiously. Is from Buddy, our good friend Buddy. Thanks again for your last submission, Buddy. This one's a great one. I skimmed it a little bit in the beginning. I wanted to go in this blind, like we usually do with all our viewer submissions. Being able to read it and experience it together, and dissecting it or discussing it after it's been read. So we do want to change it up in the future. If you want to send us a voice memo, or if you want to actually call for us to give you a call while we're filming, we could definitely do that as well, opposed to just sending us an email. But if you do have an email form of your story, please make sure to submit that to paranormaldudestories@gmail.com so it can get featured in a text form, and I'll read it. So if I butcher your guys' story, please make fun of me in the comments and I'll take it. All right, this is from Buddy. This story's titled Angel. Hey guys, so this submission is about my medium angel. you don't know what a medium is, it's a person kind of like Jesse, but they do readings and stuff for people professionally, meaning that's their job. This little guy has been with me for a very long time and has some connection to, once again, my jobs. As I wrote in my last submission, I met the cowboy. So Angel's aware of the cowboy situation. Wild already. If you haven't seen or heard of that cowboy story, make sure you go to the last episode, which is up here. I'll make sure to tag that so that you can see what the cowboy story is. The spirit attached to me and has been with me since the passing after meeting him while he was still alive. Whoa, so Angel's no longer with us. I'm assuming from what am I reading that right? Right? Angel's, yeah, he's
Read
no
it
longer.
again.
This spirit attached to me with the cowboy spirit, and it has been with me since his passing after meeting him while he was still alive. Yeah, he's Angel's no longer living. Okay. I can't remember the year, but working at my fairground job, I met a young boy who was being bullied by other children. I intervened and stopped the others from bullying this boy, who I could clearly see was somewhat of a loner in his regular life. For the remainder of this fair, I would see him every morning and he would come to me, hug me, and end up walking with me while I was working. The little boy I soon came to know as Daniel Angel in Spanish, although he liked to be called Angel in English. I took a liking to this kid, and at the end of the fair, I told him I would see him next year. Throughout that year, I often thought of this kid and wondered what he had been up to. During this time, I was also a firefighter, and one night received a medical call to a home for a child with difficulty breathing. Arriving at this home, we were stopped at the front door and asked to wear masks due to the patient having an immune system disorder and an illness introduced to him could take his life. We entered the home, and the front of the room, we encountered a child in the hospital bed lying in a vegetative state. Immediately recognizing my little friend as Angel. His mother told us he could not respond because he basically was brain dead. Wow. I stood next to him while administering high flow oxygen and said to him, "Hi, Angel, it's me, buddy." At that moment, we all gasped because he began tearing and moving his eyes to meet with my eyes. Throughout the next few weeks, it seemed as soon as I arrived on duty, we would receive a call to this address, and each time Angel would begin tearing up and his eyes would search the room almost as if searching for me. Finally, one night, we received a call only to arrive and find my little friend had passed away, unfortunately. That sucks. Throughout my 13 years as a firefighter, I never showed emotion towards the passing of a patient, but this one cut me deep that night. Fast forward to about a week later, coming from home, a shift, I walked up my stairs in my home and heard a child's voice call out to me saying, "Hey." I stopped at the top of the stairs, looked down into my living room, and saw a child sitting on my couch smiling at me. Oy. I could only respond by saying, "What?" The child then stood and faded away into the air. I couldn't believe what I saw, and I recognized the ghost, and I knew it was Angel. Over the next few nights, my family experienced seeing Angel in my stairs. Over the years, Angel would appear when something was going to go bad, whether it was another spirit or a bad incident at one of my jobs. I call him a medium because I have spoken to him and he replies. I feel like he seems to be watching out for me, repaying the friendship and we struck up during the fair when I met him. To this day, Angel still visits and will play pranks on myself or my daughters, such as hiding things from us, including once placing my daughter's shoes on the roof of my backyard. I'm not bothered by Angel, and I enjoy him being around, especially when seeing him. I know to watch out to whatever is nearby. Sorry for an even longer story than my last, but this one goes out to my little friend Angel. Thank you for watching out for me, dude. Oh man,
There's the tear.
that was a real tear. So this it wasn't a traditional medium like like Jesse. It was a kid that died and is a medium to Buddy coming from the spiritual realm to kind of warn him for impending doom, whether it be at his work or him, encountering any other entity or spirit. What do you guys think about all this?
He was brain dead,
Yeah,
so that makes sense why he could communicate with him. He was probably
right.
like maybe necessarily that he was a medium, maybe because he was brain dead. He was just on another um like another
Like
Level of
frequency or plane.
consciousness.
frequency or
Yeah,
he was able to like and because Buddy for whatever reason or he says he's a little bit, clairvoyant, he was able to communicate with him
no, yeah,
while
definitely
he was in that state.
crazy. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's unfortunate things that happen like this, and I don't know, for Buddy to have this experience and then after unfortunately Angel passes, for this child to continue to have a relationship with Buddy and kind of protect him in ways, if you really think about it. um I don't know, it's kind of like it's awful that he passed away, but this that just
Mm-hmm.
shows the kind of person that this angel um child is, that he's there for Buddy, whether it be encountering entities or something's going to happen at work. Um, that's, yeah, I mean, wild thing to think about for Angel and Buddy's experience. What do you think, Oscar?
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of ties back to what we were talking about just, I mean, Buddy could have just seen the kid or not even done anything, right? And seeing when he was getting bullied and all that. But I feel like a lot of the things that may have happened or what happened in Buddy's life, it's thanks to that good integrity that he had with the kid and just
Yeah.
being a great person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now he has someone that is with him that he
Forever.
can, it's a signal, right? It's somebody that
Yeah.
tells him, hey, something's going on, this and that. And from his story and his experience, I mean, I can hear that it's like it's somebody that is there for good, you know?
Yeah. And very important to Buddy. I agree 100%, Oscar. Ethan, what do you think?
I hate to sound, Buddy, if you're listening to this. What if like
Buddy is
don't want to put it
listening.
out there to
Actually,
everyone?
Buddy is watching this.
I know, but
He
hold
watches
on.
our podcast religiously.
Because
Trust
like
me.
here's the thing. I don't want to put Buddy's stuff out there, but if anyone knows Buddy, he did go through something pretty
Traumatic.
crazy recently. Yeah. What if seeing or having this? I would say kind of a guardian angel. That was meant to happen because maybe God or some form of an entity knew that he was gonna go through something in the future, that he
Right.
needed guidance, he needed help as well, just like how this kid needed it as well. And what if he
Oh,
stayed and be
I
with him
didn't think
through
of it that
that?
way.
You know what I mean?
True. I mean, that's very, very likely. It could be, honestly. Um,
It's
I didn't think of it that way.
it's
It's
crazy that
true.
you say that, Ethan, because I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Presence. It's a POV of a ghost or a spirit,
Okay.
and I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's exactly what
Spoilers.
Ethan
Spoilers.
just said.
Spoilers. Yeah. Yeah.
That energy, that ghost doesn't know who they are, why they're
Right.
there, what time they're in, nothing, but they just know they need to do something. And
Right.
throughout the movie, things happen, and finally at the end connects, and they did what they needed to do in the past to control something in the present to prevent something in the future. So yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe Jessica shed more light on this about like maybe these spirits or entities not knowing what time they're in,
Right.
but just knowing the purpose of why they're here or why they're there.
Um, Wow. Just kidding. I think it's I think it could be something similar. Like I said, I think that because of the state of mind that he was in and because of like Buddy's clairvoyant, they're able to communicate and um but I mean I could totally see like what Ethan's saying, like how because I kind of read something about that also from this lady who was talking about like death and like how death is not necessarily your body leaves, your soul leaves your body, you just go to a different frequency because you have to come back, or you're like in this lobby that tells you like what your job is going to be, either you're
Right.
going to teach, you're going to whatever. So maybe it was they kind of were drawn to each other, or he kind of went for him and drew him because they ultimately were going to need each other.
Yeah, for sure.
As in the physical world and in the paranormal,
The spiritual
not
world.
paranormal, but the spiritual world.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, thank you for all you guys to kind of shed your own light on Buddy's story. Once again, Buddy, we want to thank you so much for submitting your story. Your story is always great, albeit long, like you mentioned, but I feel like the longer the story, the more meaningful it is, opposed to dropping us a couple liners and leaving some details out. We prefer these. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate it. Once again, if you're watching the show and you have a story of your own, make sure, like I said before, you leave us a comment. You can message us or send us an email to paranormaldudesstories@gmail.com. Like I and previously mentioned, we're looking into having voice notes, or if you have a video you want to submit as well, or we could call you during the pod. We could definitely do that too. We'll set that up. Woo! What an episode, guys. What a crazy episode. Heavy. I mean, I think it's really heavy because it's literally what's happening right now. Um, as I'm speaking to you guys tonight on this podcast. And I guess we'll find out in the next coming days if something does happen, or, the end times are here. We'll definitely put it on our docket, put a short out or a story so that we could tell you guys that it was real, and we're not going to be airing the show anymore. Hopefully it's not that somber. But before we do close out today's episode, I want to thank everyone that contributed to this episode. Some final shout outs, of course, to Jesse's podcast, Together We Inspire, the Sir Optimus of El Centro. If you're not checking them out, you should. They're on all of your streaming platforms, and they're getting their YouTube channel started. So make sure you go check that out. Aside from that, we want to just kind of slow down and start slow churning our way out of the heaviness that is today's podcast episode. We want you guys to stay tuned. Be aware of all your paranormal surroundings, because it's out there, whether you believe in it or not. If you don't believe in it, it's still there, whether you think it's not there or not. And overall, just thanks everybody. Do you guys have anything before we close shop today?
Just thanks for the engagement. Thanks for all the growth. We're
appreciate
working
it
every week to bring you guys the best content that we can.
Yes, we are.
Nothing fabricated, everything real. Just like
we're trying to refine the show as much as possible for everybody that's subbing. We are. Jess, you got anything?
Yeah, I feel like everybody has a little clairvoyant in them, so just be aware of that creepy feeling you get, or that feeling. Just follow it, because you may be tapping into your clairvoyant feelings.
I like that. Ethan, you got anything for him? For our viewers or audience?
If you hear a knock at your door and you look through your peephole and there's no one there, don't open the door.
Don't open the door. Don't open it.
Don't pull Sergio.
Don't pull a me at the age of 19. Don't pull it off. But yeah, like I said, next week we're gonna have a banger of a video. We have a great topic for sure. So make sure you guys tune in, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Catch you later, dudes.